welcome to the deep dive. You sent over a really fascinating stack of sources this time. Quite unusual, actually. It's this long conversation with the actor Miles Teller.
That's right. And just to be clear, our mission here, it isn't really about, a celebrity profile as such. It's about digging into the actual conversation, going past the surface stuff about his career. Yeah. Whiplash, War Dogs, Top Gun, Maverick, and his new film Eternity. We'll touch on those.
But we're looking for the real nuggets, right? The philosophical bit.
Exactly. Surprising insights on things like material attachment, how he views leadership, loss, love, all hidden right there next to stories about dinosaur skulls and weird Florida festival.
Okay, so it's a shortcut for you, the listener, to get to these kind of surprising life lessons buried in the material.
Yeah, it's a deep dive into contrasts, really. The conversation, it swings pretty wildly. Our job is to try and connect those dots for you.
All right, let's unpack it. Starting with some of that surprising cultural stuff around his life outside Hollywood. He lives in Nashville now, right?
Right. Yes, based in Nashville. But the connections go deeper south into Louisiana, too. And the first thing that jumps out is this, incredible detail about a friend.
Oh, yeah.
A mutual friend who owns a triceratops skull.
Wait, a literal, actual dinosaur skull?
A literal triceratops skull. This friend, Todd, apparently doesn't just own it. He actually lent it to a museum down in Louisiana.
No way.
Yeah, and it kind of speaks to this fascinating regional thing, What people collect, what they share, it's maybe a bit different.
Like the sources said, you might see this amazing piece of paleontology right next to, a beer bottle?
Yeah.
Depending on the local curator.
Exactly. That kind of vibe. A priceless artifact potentially next to some local flair. It's quite an image.
It really is. And speaking of regional culture, Teller grew up partly in Central Florida.
He did, which brings us to the, let's say, bizarre history of the Cooter Festival.
Okay, I saw this in the notes. The Daily Show went there. Twice.
To his childhood county, all because of this festival. It's named after the Cooter turtle.
Right, the Cooter turtle.
Yeah.
But the linguistic gold here, the real aha moment, is where that word cooter actually comes from.
Precisely. It's not just some, quirky Southern nickname. The word cooter actually comes from the African word kuta.
Kuta.
Yeah, C-O-U-T-A. It means turtle in Bambara and Malinke, languages from West Africa. That term, it traveled across the Atlantic, ended up in the regional dialect.
Wow.
Giving this little Florida festival this incredibly deep, global, historical root. It's fascinating context for something that, let's be honest, sounds pretty silly on the surface.
It definitely grounds the weirdness a bit. But, okay, let's shift to maybe the most jaw-dropping detail from the early parts of the conversation. A really shocking anatomical anecdote.
Oh, we have to mention this. The sources go into the story from high school about a classmate.
Yeah.
She had this extremely rare biological condition, born with 2 vaginas, 2 uteruses, and 2 cervixes.
Wow. I mean, that's incredibly rare. And, knowing high schoolers.
Oh, a nickname was coming.
Absolutely. Cruel but creative.
Yeah. And the one they apparently landed on, and it certainly sticks with you, was Double Barrel Cheryl.
Oof. Yeah. That story definitely shows the kind of boundary-pushing dark humor in these sources. But the conversation, it took a sharp turn, didn't it? Grounded itself really quickly when he started talking about loss.
It did. A jarring shift, but really important. Moving into the profound trauma he and his wife, Kelly, went through when their house burned down.
And it wasn't just the fire, right? There was more to it.
Right. It was layered trauma. That's key. First, their previous place got robbed while he was away filming. A deep violation, he said. So they moved. Kelly designed this dream home in the Pacific Palisades.
And then a wildfire just took it.
Completely destroyed it. Total loss. Just gone.
But the sources mentioned this really heartwarming response afterwards from a totally unexpected place. The Grateful Dead fan community.
Yeah, Teller's a huge Deadhead, massive fan, and he lost his entire collection of vintage Dead Tour shirts in that fire.
Oh man, for a collector, that's brutal.
Absolutely. But then Deadheads, hearing about this, they reached out to Kelly, said they felt terrible, and they started offering to send him shirts from their own cherished collections to replace what he'd lost.
Seriously.
Yeah. Realizing what those shirts represented, not just fabric, but history, shared experience.
So the community basically became his, replacement archive. That's That's incredible generosity. Really shows that loving, supportive side of that whole scene.
It really does. And that whole process, dealing with the loss, it forced him to really think about attachment, you know?
How so?
Well, he reflected that the material value of the house, the cost, that wasn't the main thing hitting him. It was the little things.
Like what?
Like a specific coffee mug he loved, his vintage '75 Ford Bronco, things like that. He realized that loss hurts so much because those specific objects, they represented history. They represented the feeling of home.
Huh. So it wasn't about the stuff itself, but the history tied to the stuff. That feels almost counterintuitive sometimes, doesn't it? We focus so much on replacement cost.
Exactly. Not the sentimentality of, yeah, a coffee mug. So he had to kind of redefine his relationship with possessions. And he was trying hard to frame it positively right away.
What do you mean?
Saying things like, okay, this is cathartic. This is going to be a life lesson. We tell our kids we lost everything. But look, we figured it out. Trying to find that bright side immediately.
And that's where his wife, Kelly, had something to say about it.
She did a really sharp observation. She apparently looked right at him and said, "Stop bright-siding me."
Bright-siding? Where did she get that?
Picked it up from social media, apparently.
Yeah.
But it's a really crucial concept, I think, for you, the listener, to grasp.
Okay, so what does it mean? Bright-siding. Is it pushing back against that pressure to immediately find the silver lining?
That's exactly it. It means you're kind of invalidating someone's immediate, real, painful trauma by telling them to skip the grieving part and jump straight to the lesson.
Like saying, well, at least you have your health.
Uh-huh.
Right after they lost their home and everything in it.
Precisely that. Kelly was basically saying, hey, let me feel this loss fully right now. Don't pressure me to instantly package it up into some neat, positive story. That insight right there in the sources, it says a lot about how we handle trauma, personally and maybe even publicly.
That really reframes the whole idea of recovery, doesn't it?
Wow.
Okay, moving from that very personal trauma, let's pivot to some of the big existential questions his new movie, Eternity, seems to be asking.
Yeah, the film sounds like it tackles what we really value when the material world is just gone.
So what's the premise?
Okay, the premise is pretty wild, brilliantly complex. When you die, you don't just, go straight to heaven or hell. You apparently take a train
The train to where?
to this massive transfer hub, described as like Grand Central Station meets a World's Fair, a huge celestial terminal.
Okay. And then what happens there?
You get assigned an afterlife coordinator, think like a cosmic travel agent,
Got it.
and you get to choose your eternal theme. The sources literally described it as a mall of options.
A mall. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of options are we talking?
All sorts. You could pick capitalism world, smoking world, even Manson world was mentioned, bizarrely.
Whoa.
Or, simpler stuff. A forever beach vacation, endless skiing, whatever your eternity looks like.
Quite a range. And the main conflict for Teller's character in this afterlife mall.
It's all about love. It sets up this ultimate love triangle.
Okay.
His wife, played by Elizabeth Olsen, she's recently died, and she arrives there only to find her first love waiting for her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a guy who died decades earlier fighting in the Korean War. He's been waiting all this time, so she has to choose him, the first love, or Teller, the husband she built a whole life with.
Man, that film premise, it immediately plugs into this really profound, tragic historical reality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sources even mention the stats on war widows.
Absolutely. It puts a kind of fantastical spin on a very real historical weight. The numbers are staggering. World War I, something like 3 to 4 million women widowed.
3 to 4 million.
World War II, around 405,000 widows in the U.S. And the Korean War, the specific context for the first love in the movie, around 36,000 widows. It's just immense heartbreak fueling this fictional choice.
So connecting this back to the bigger picture, the philosophy, what's Teller's takeaway from grappling with these ideas of loss, enduring love, the afterlife?
Well, he reflects on some experience. It wasn't fully detailed, but the insight he drew from it was clear. He concluded that relationships, connection, that's really the most important thing.
Everything else is secondary.
He put it very bluntly, said something like, love was the most important thing and that everything else was just a complete fool's errand.
And he sort of reinforces that idea that our consciousness, who we fundamentally are, our capacity for love, it exists outside the physical vessel.
Exactly. Whether that vessel is a house that burned down or a body that died decades ago in a war, the essential self, the connection, the love that remains, that's the core idea.
It's a really powerful, consistent philosophy running through all this.
And it dictates how he seems to live his life, which takes us neatly into his professional ethics, how he operates at work.
Right. So if love and relationships are the ultimate focus personally, how does that translate to, say, the high pressure, sometimes ego-driven environment of a huge movie set? Let's talk about his work ethic. Worked with Tom Cruise on Top Gun, Maverick, right? That seemed influential.
Definitely influential. Teller clearly sees acting as being just one link in the chain. He kept comparing the film set to being on a sports team.
So camaraderie, teamwork.
Very much so. That mutual respect seems absolutely critical to his whole process, especially on those massive productions where, yeah, egos could easily take over.
And he tries to lead by example.
Leads from the front is how it sounds. He learned from Cruise, apparently, that the standard is be the first one there, be the last one to leave, and crucially, take the time to learn everyone's name on set.
Everyone. Like the catering crew, the grips, everybody.
Everybody, regardless of their role. And this isn't just about, being nice. It's presented as a leadership strategy.
How so?
Well, think about it. On a huge production, hundreds of people. If the lead actor knows your name, shows you that respect, it builds buy-in. It builds that team feeling. It ensures every single link in that chain feels valued, probably performs better.
Yeah.
It's taking his personal philosophy about valuing relationships and applying it directly to his job.
That makes sense. The conversation also touched on another film, Thank You for Your Service, which deals with veterans returning home. And that brought up a really striking point about military sacrifice and, well, societal responsibility.
Yes, a really profound point made by the writer-director of that film, apparently.
Yeah.
The idea was that for centuries, we've perfected how to create a soldier.
Right, the training, the deployment, how to execute the mission.
We know how to do all that incredibly well, but
Well,
we still don't really know how to bring them back.
Bring them back, meaning
Meaning the untraining, the mental and emotional transition back to civilian life, the support systems needed.
wow, that lack of an equivalent untraining program. That's a really powerful critique of our priorities, isn't it?
It really is. It points to these overwhelmed systems the VA has mentioned, not as being fundamentally broken, but just swamped.
Yeah.
There hasn't been the same societal investment in the bringing them back part of the whole equation.
We allocate massive resources to create the capability, but not nearly enough for the reintegration afterward.
That's the core of the critique. Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone from humor, cooter turtles, deep trauma, afterlife malls, love triangles, leadership on set, veteran issues. Quite the journey. What does Teller himself say are the keys to his own success, his ability to navigate all these different roles and topics?
He points to two main traits, really, empathy and curiosity.
Empathy and curiosity. Let's unpack where he thinks those came from, because the sources connect them right back to his childhood experiences.
Yeah, the empathy piece he suggests comes from spending a lot of time throughout his life in nursing homes, visiting his uncle, who was quadriplegic.
Oh.
That early, consistent exposure to vulnerability, to the raw human condition. He feels that really shaped his ability to understand and, step into the shoes of very diverse characters.
Makes sense. And the curiosity and adaptability.
That he links to moving around so much as a kid, lived in 5 different states by the time he was 12.
Wow, that's a lot of change for a kid.
It is. And as a kid in that situation, you have to adapt constantly. You have to figure out how to fit in, seek acceptance, open yourself up to new people, new environments. You develop pretty high social antenna.
Right, you have to learn to read the room fast.
Exactly. And that necessity, needing to constantly fit in, needing to understand different kinds of people quickly, it basically morphs into a professional skill set later on.
So that curiosity needed to survive socially becomes the curiosity that lets him tackle diverse roles and connect with all kinds of people on set.
Precisely. It's like the ultimate example of your childhood circumstances directly shaping your adult success and approach.
What a fascinating arc. We really started out with, Triceratops skulls and that double-barrel Cheryl story. And we've landed on this really clear, quite mature philosophy about love, loss, leadership, empathy.
And I think that consistency is the main takeaway for you, the listener. It doesn't matter how casual or even strange the source material seems on the surface. Underneath, Teller's core philosophy, valuing relationships, leading with integrity, staying curious, it really shines through. It offers a kind of blueprint, maybe, for navigating modern life and work.
Absolutely. Okay, so as we wrap up, our final provocative thought for you, let's circle back to that discussion about military service and political leadership that came up.
Right, the point about ancient Rome.
Yeah, how in ancient Rome, politicians often had to have served on the battlefield. They needed, quote, skin in the game regarding the wars they might vote to start.
So here's the thought to leave you with. What might be different today? Think about major societal decisions, not just about war, but maybe environmental policy, education funding, community investment rules. What might change if our leaders across the board were required to have some direct personal stake in the outcomes of the policies they enact?
What happens when the people making the rules are also the people who most directly feel the consequences?
Something for you to mull over.
Definitely. Yeah, and if you want to check out the film we talked about, Eternity, the sources mentioned, it's coming out nationwide around Thanksgiving week. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.